The shuttle dropped me at the Mammoth Hot Springs Administrative Complex on a Tuesday in late September. I had a duffel bag with 3 changes of clothes, a pair of boots I'd broken in over 6 years of Forest Service work in Montana, and a letter offering me a GS-7 position in what the hiring paperwork called zone maintenance and monitoring. The pay was 12% higher than my last job. I did not ask questions about the 12%. A woman named Hendricks met me at the visitor center loading dock. She wore the standard Park Service uniform, the flat hat, the radio clipped at her shoulder. Her face was weathered in a way that suggested decades in the backcountry. Rather than behind a desk, she did not shake my hand. "Cormac sent your file ahead," she said. "You worked the Bitterroot fires in 21. "Yes, ma'am." "You stayed in the lookout tower at Warden Peak for 9 weeks without relief when the roads washed out." 11 weeks, I said. They miscounted. She looked at me for a long moment, then she handed me a set of keys on a steel ring. 12 keys, each one labeled with a strip of electrical tape in a different color. "Station 14, she said. "Burnt Hollow sector. You'll be there alone. Resupply runs every 12 days. Radio checks 3 times nightly. There are instructions waiting at the station." "What am I monitoring?" She was already walking toward a white Park Service pickup. "The instructions will explain." I followed her. The drive took 2 hours and 40 minutes. We passed through the developed areas first, the boardwalks and parking lots and crowds photographing bison from too close. Then we turned onto an unmarked service road and the crowds disappeared. The road climbed through lodgepole pine forest burned black in some long-ago fire, the dead trunks standing in rows like fence posts. The pavement ended, the gravel road narrowed. We crossed 3 cattle guards and 2 seasonal creek beds running dry. Hendricks did not speak during the drive. The radio on her dash crackled twice with dispatcher chatter from distant sectors. She turned it off. At one point, we passed a rusted gate with a sign that read, "Area closed, thermal instability." She unlocked it with a key from her own ring, drove through, locked it behind us. We continued for another 35 minutes. Station 14 sat in a small clearing surrounded by dead timber on 3 sides and a rocky slope on the 4th. It was a single-story structure, maybe 800 square feet, with a wraparound porch and a metal roof. The paint was peeling. A generator shed stood 40 yards to the north. Beyond that, barely visible through the dead trees, I could see the corner of a larger cabin. The supply building, I assumed. Hendricks parked and handed me a manila envelope. "Instructions inside," she said. The station stocked for 14 days. Water comes from the hand pump on the east side. Generator runs on diesel. There are 6 cans in the shed, plus what's in the tank. Radios on the desk. You're on channel 6 for standard checks, channel 4 for emergencies. "When do I meet the other rangers in the sector?" She looked at me the way you'd look at someone who asked why the sky was blue. "There are no other rangers in this sector." She got back in the truck and drove away. I stood in the clearing for a while after that. The silence was absolute. No birds, no wind, just the ticking of the hot engine in the generator shed and the faint smell of sulfur drifting from somewhere I couldn't see. I checked my watch. 4:17 p.m. Sunset would be around 7:30. I had time. The station door opened with the green taped key. Inside, the layout was simple. A main room with a desk, a cot, a wood stove, and a small kitchenette. A door in the back led to a storage closet. A second door, padlocked, had a piece of masking tape stuck to it with the word corridor written in faded marker. There was one window on each wall: north, south, east, west. The south-facing window had a set of heavy blackout curtains hanging beside it, tied back with a cord. On the desk, beside the radio and a stack of blank logbooks, sat the manila envelope Hendricks had given me. I opened it. Inside were 3 sheets of paper. The first was a hand-drawn map of the sector, showing the station, the supply cabin, the generator shed, and a dotted line marking what was labeled perimeter. Checkpoints. A through F. The perimeter formed a rough circle with a radius of approximately 150 yards around the station. 6 reflective markers, according to the legend. The second sheet was a shift schedule. My hours were listed as 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week. Sleep during daylight, work at night. The third sheet was typed on Park Service letterhead. It was titled The Operational Guidelines, Station 14, Burnt Hollow Sector. Below the title, someone had written in pen, "Read this before sunset. Follow it exactly." I sat down on the cot and read. 1. Never patrol the perimeter between 1:45 a.m. and 2:15 a.m. Remain in the station with the exterior door sealed during this window. If you are already outside when 1:45 a.m. arrives, return to the station immediately and seal the door. Do not run. 2. If you hear your name called from the tree line, do not respond verbally. Do not call back. Continue your current task in silence. 3. The supply cabin at the north clearing may be visited only during daylight hours. If you must retrieve supplies after sunset, radio dispatch on Channel 6 and request authorization using today's code phrase. Wait for confirmation before proceeding. If confirmation does not come within 5 minutes, do not proceed. 4. Do not acknowledge the second knock. If someone knocks on the station door, count to 30 before responding. After 30 seconds, you may answer. If a second knock occurs before you answer, regardless of whether 30 seconds have passed, do not answer the door. Do not speak. Wait in silence until dawn. 5. The south-facing window must be covered between 2:10 a.m. and 2:20 a.m. Use the blackout curtains provided. After 2:20 a.m., the curtains must be removed. The window must be uncovered for the remainder of the night. 6. If you observe an animal moving backward, walking, running, or crawling, in reverse, look away immediately. Do not watch it. Do not follow it. Do not attempt to photograph or document it. Note the time in your logbook and continue your duties. 7. The maintenance corridor behind the station is checked at exactly 4 a.m. The padlock combination is 7742. Count your steps from the station's main door to the corridor's far end. There should be 47 steps. If there are more or fewer, return to the station immediately. Seal the main door and do not reopen it until dawn. 8. Radio checks occur at midnight, 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. Use Channel 6. Dispatch will provide a code phrase that changes daily. The current phrase is posted each evening at 5:45 p.m. via Channel 6 broadcast. If dispatch uses yesterday's code phrase during a check, do not respond. Switch to Channel 4 and wait in silence until dispatch contacts you with today's phrase. 9. The generator shed may be entered only if the red indicator light beside the door is lit. If the light is off, but you can hear the generator running, do not enter the shed. Return to the station and wait. The light will reset within 40 minutes. 10. If you see another person in the sector between midnight and 5 a.m., Verify their badge number against the shift roster before approaching within 20 yards. The roster is posted beside the radio. If their badge number does not match the roster, or if they cannot produce a badge when asked, maintain at least 20 yards of distance and radio dispatch immediately. Do not turn your back on them. 11. The perimeter markers must be checked at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., and 3:30 a.m. Each marker should have a reflective tag attached. If a tag is missing, replace it from the supply bin in the storage closet. Do not search for the missing tag. Do not investigate how it was removed. 12. After midnight, do not turn your back to the eastern tree line. If your duties require you to face away from the east, complete them as quickly as possible and reorient yourself. 13. If the station's interior lights flicker more than 3 times within a 60-second period, turn them off manually using the switch beside the door. Use only your flashlight until you have completed 1 full hour without additional flickering. Then you may restore the overhead lights. 14. If at any point you feel a strong compulsion to leave the station outside of your scheduled patrol times, sit down, close your eyes, and recite the day's code phrase 7 times. Do not open your eyes until you have finished. If the compulsion persists after the 7th repetition, radio dispatch on channel 4 and remain seated until you receive a response. I read the list 3 times, then I checked my watch. 5:42 p.m., sunset in less than 2 hours. The code phrase broadcast would come in 3 minutes. I turned on the radio, set it to channel 6, and waited. At 5:45 exactly, a voice crackled through the speaker. Male, middle-aged, bored sounding. All stations, this is dispatch. Daily code phrase for September 19th is Copper Basin. Repeat, Copper Basin. Confirm receipt on your assigned channel. I keyed the mic. Station 14 confirming. Copper Basin. Copy 14. Good luck out there. The radio went silent. I spent the remaining daylight hours inventorying the station. The storage closet held 23 cans of food, 4 gallons of water in sealed jugs, a first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, 2 flashlights, a box of 48 AA batteries, a coil of rope, and a plastic bin containing 12 reflective tags, a roll of wire, and a pair of pliers. I counted everything twice and wrote the numbers in the first logbook. The kitchenette had a 2-burner propane stove, a sink that didn't work, and a small refrigerator that hummed when I plugged it in. I put 3 water bottles inside. I found the blackout curtains for the south window and tested them. They covered the glass completely, secured with a Velcro strip along the top and sides. I practiced pulling them closed and reopening them. It took 4 seconds to close, 6 seconds to open. At 6 p.m., the sun dropped behind the ridgeline to the west, and the shadows in the clearing grew long. I pulled on my jacket, checked my flashlight, and unlocked the station door. My first patrol of the perimeter took 19 minutes. The 6 markers were exactly where the map indicated. Metal posts about 3 feet high, each with a reflective tag wired to the top. The tags caught my flashlight beam and threw it back in bright orange. I walked the full circle, counting my paces. 312 steps from marker A back to marker A. The dead trees stood silent on all sides. Nothing moved. I returned to the station and logged the time. 6:23 p.m. All markers present. No anomalies. The first few hours passed quietly. I ate a can of soup heated on the propane stove. I read through the previous logbooks, but they were blank. Apparently, this was a new posting, or the old books had been removed. I tested the radio twice, receiving nothing but static. At 11 p.m., I went out for the second perimeter check. The air had cooled significantly. My breath fogged in the beam of my flashlight. I walked the same route, counting the same paces, checking the same reflective tags. All 6 present, 312 steps. Back in the station, I logged the check and sat down to wait for midnight. At 12 a.m. exactly, I keyed the radio. "Dispatch, this is Station 14, midnight check, Copper Basin." A pause, then, "Station 14, dispatch copies. Copper Basin confirmed. Anything to report?" "Negative, all clear." "Copy, dispatch out." The routine felt familiar. I had done similar work at the Bitterroot Tower, timed checks, radio confirmations, long hours of waiting. The rules were strange, but rules were rules. You followed them because someone who came before you had a reason to write them down. That was how the backcountry worked. At 1 a.m., I did the 3rd perimeter check. Same route, same count, all markers present. At 1:42 a.m., I was standing on the porch, preparing to go back inside, when I heard something move in the eastern tree line. It was a soft sound, not footsteps exactly, but something like footsteps. A rhythmic compression, as if weight was being applied and released on the dry pine needles that carpeted the ground. I turned my flashlight toward the trees. Nothing. Just the dead trunks standing in their rows, the darkness between them absolute. I checked my watch. 1:43 a.m. 2 minutes until the restricted window. I went inside, closed the door, and threw the deadbolt. Then I sat down on the cot and waited. Between 1:45 and 2:15, nothing happened. No sounds from outside, no knocks on the door, just silence and the faint hum of the generator in the distance. I watched the clock on my phone, counting the minutes. At 2:10, I stood up, crossed to the south window, and pulled the blackout curtains closed. The Velcro sealed with a soft rip. The room went darker. At 2:20, I pulled the curtains open again. The south window looked out on the rocky slope behind the station. My flashlight caught nothing but gray stone and scattered brush. At 2:25, I unlocked the door and stepped back onto the porch. The night was still. I swept my flashlight across the clearing, then toward the eastern tree line. A deer stood at the edge of the trees. It was a mule deer, a doe, maybe 80 yards out. Its eyes caught the light and reflected green. It was facing me. I watched it for 10 seconds. It did not move. Then slowly, it turned and walked away into the forest. It walked backward. Each step was precise, deliberate, hind legs lifting and reaching behind the body, forelegs following in a smooth reverse gait. Its head stayed oriented toward me, eyes still catching the light, until it disappeared into the darkness between the trunks. I looked away. The rule said to look away immediately, and I had already violated it by watching for those 10 seconds. But the deer was gone now. There was nothing to see. I went back inside and logged the sighting. 2:27 a.m. Deer observed at eastern tree line, approximately 80 yards. Backward movement noted. Looked away. No further contact. At 3 a.m., I made the scheduled radio check. Copper Basin, all clear. At 3:30, I walked the perimeter again, all markers present. I kept my face toward the eastern tree line as much as possible, turning my body to sidestep along the path when the route required me to face west. 312 steps. At 4 a.m., I unlocked the padlock on the maintenance corridor door. 7742. The door opened onto a narrow hallway with concrete walls and a bare bulb at the far end. The bulb was on. I couldn't remember if it had been on when I first arrived. I stepped inside and began counting. 1, 2, 3. The hallway was barely wider than my shoulders. The concrete was cold and slightly damp. 4, 5, 6. The bulb at the far end flickered. 7, 8, 9. I kept walking. The rules said 47 steps. That was what I was counting. At step 23, I noticed the hallway seemed longer than it should be. The bulb at the end didn't look any closer than it had at the beginning. I kept my pace steady. 24, 25. At step 35, the bulb flickered again. At step 40, I could see the end wall clearly now. Concrete, blank, no door. Just the bulb hanging from a bare wire. 44, 45, 46, 47. My boot touched the base of the far wall. Exactly 47. I turned around and walked back, counting again. 47 steps to the main room. I closed the corridor door, replaced the padlock, and logged the check. 4:04 a.m., corridor clear. 47 steps confirmed. At 5 a.m., I made the final radio check. Copper basin, all clear. At 6 a.m., the sky began to lighten in the east. I logged the end of shift, secured the station, and lay down on the cot. I was asleep within minutes. The first 3 nights followed the same pattern. Perimeter checks at the scheduled times. Radio confirmations. The south window covered and uncovered at the designated minutes. The corridor walked and counted. I saw nothing else unusual. No more backward deer. No voices calling my name. Just the silence and the dead trees and the faint smell of sulfur that never quite went away. On the 4th night, the pattern broke. I was doing the 1 a.m. perimeter check when I found marker C missing. Not the tag, the entire post. The hole where it had been driven into the ground was empty. The edges crumbled as if something had pulled it straight up. I stood there for maybe 15 seconds, staring at the hole. Then I remembered the rule. Replace the tag. Do not search for the missing post. Do not investigate. I walked back to the station, retrieved a spare tag and a new metal post from the supply closet, and returned to marker C's location. I drove the new post into the hole using the side of my boot and a rock from nearby. I wired the tag to the top. The whole process took 11 minutes. I did not look for the original post. I did not investigate the hole. I logged the replacement, 1:19 a.m., marker C replaced, and completed the rest of the perimeter check. The remaining markers were intact. 307 steps this time. The detour had cost me 5 paces. Back in the station, I sat on the cot and waited for 1:45. At 1:42, I heard the knock. It came from the front door. 3 sharp raps, evenly spaced. I checked my watch. 1:42. 3 minutes until the restricted window. The rule said to count to 30 before responding. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. The knocks did not repeat. I kept my eyes on the door. 7, 8, 9. At 15, a second knock came. 2 raps this time, softer than the first. I stopped counting. The rule was clear. Do not acknowledge the second knock. Do not answer. Wait in silence until dawn. I sat motionless on the cot. My flashlight was in my hand, but I did not turn it on. The station's interior lights were off. I had switched them off at 1:30, following a habit I'd developed to save generator fuel. 1:43 a.m., 1:44. At 1:45, something moved across the front porch. I could hear it. Not footsteps, but that same rhythmic compression I'd heard on the first night. Weight applied and released, weight applied and released. It circled the station slowly, passing the east wall, then the south, then the west. At 1:52, it passed the north wall and stopped. The generator shed was 40 yards north of the station. I heard the compression sound continue, fainter now, more distant, heading toward the shed. I sat on the cot and did not move. At 2:07, the compression sound returned, closer, circling again, east, south, west, north. This time it did not stop at the north wall. It continued around the station 3 full times, each circuit taking approximately 4 minutes. Then it stopped on the front porch. At 2:14, the door handle rattled. I watched the deadbolt. It held. The handle rattled again, then stopped. Silence. At 2:15, I stood up and crossed to the south window. One hand on the curtain cord. 2:10 to 2:20. The window covered. But it was already 2:15. I was late. I pulled the curtains closed. Nothing happened. No sound from outside. I waited until 2:20, then opened the curtains. The slope beyond the south window was empty. Gray stone, scattered brush, the first hint of false dawn in the sky. At 2:25, I unlocked the front door. I waited 10 seconds before opening it. The porch was empty. The clearing was empty. I swept my flashlight across the tree lines, north and east and west. Nothing moved. But there were marks on the porch, scuff marks in the dust, forming a rough circle around the station's footprint. I walked the perimeter of the building and found the same marks all the way around, continuous, overlapping, as if something had walked the same path dozens of times in the span of 30 minutes. I logged the incident. Knocking at 1:42 a.m. Double knock at 1:43. Compression sounds circling station between 1:45 and 2:15. Door handle rattled at 2:14. Scuff marks observed on porch and around building perimeter. At 3 a.m., the radio check went normally. Copper basin, all clear. I did not mention the knocking. The 5th night brought the voice. I was in the middle of the 11 p.m. perimeter check when I heard it. A woman's voice, calling from the trees to the south. The voice was saying my name, my first name, clear and unmistakable, with the exact intonation my mother used when she called me in from the backyard as a child. I stopped walking. My flashlight beam trembled slightly. I steadied it. "Tom," the voice called again. "Tom, come here." I turned away from the south and continued along the perimeter path toward Marker D. The voice followed me, moving through the trees, always about 50 yards off. Tom, please, I need help." I did not respond. I did not look toward the voice. I counted my paces, 43 from Marker C to Marker D, and checked the reflective tag. Present. "Tom, why won't you answer me?" Marker E, 51 paces. Present. "Tom, Marker F, 44 paces. Present." Back to Marker A, 76 paces. Present. I returned to the station and locked the door. The voice had stopped somewhere during the walk from Marker F to Marker A. I could not say exactly when. In the logbook, I wrote, "Voice heard during 11 p.m. perimeter check." Used my first name. Did not respond verbally. Completed check without incident. I stared at what I'd written for a long time. Then I added, "Voice matched my mother." She died in 2019. The 6th night brought the trainee. I was doing the midnight radio check when dispatch broke protocol. "Station 14, dispatch, Copper Basin. Be advised, you have a trainee arriving at your location. ETA 45 minutes. Name is Reyes. Badge number 7441. Acknowledge." I keyed the mic. "Station 14 copies. Trainee Reyes, badge 7441. ETA 45 minutes. Dispatch out. I sat back on the cot and waited, a trainee, at midnight in the Burnt Hollow sector. At 12:42 a.m., I heard a vehicle approaching on the service road. I turned on the porch light and watched through the east window. A white Park Service pickup emerged from the tree line and stopped in the clearing. A figure climbed out. I checked the shift roster beside the radio. It listed only my name and badge number. No trainee was listed, but the dispatch had announced the trainee. Dispatch had given a badge number. I went to the front door and opened it. The figure approached the porch, a woman in her late 20s, wearing the standard uniform, carrying a duffel bag. "Reyes?" I asked. "Yeah, Station 14. "That's right." I held up my hand. "Badge." She reached into her jacket and produced an ID badge. 7441. I compared it to the roster. The number was not listed, but dispatch had confirmed it. "Dispatch didn't add you to the roster," I said. "Paperwork's always late. You know how it is." She shifted her duffel to her other shoulder. "Can I come in? It's cold as hell out here." I stepped back and let her enter. For the next hour, I explained the rules. I read them aloud from the typed sheet, one by one, while Reyes sat on the cot and took notes in a small spiral notebook. She asked questions about the south window, about the corridor count, about the perimeter markers. I answered as precisely as I could. At 1:43, I told her it was time to seal the door. "All ready?" She checked her watch. "I thought the window was 1:45 to 2:15. 2 minutes early. I don't like cutting it close." I closed the door and threw the deadbolt. Reyes watched me with an expression I couldn't read. "What happens if you're outside during that window?" she asked. "I don't know. The rules say not to be." "But what do you think happens?" I looked at her. "I think you follow the rules." The compression sound began at 1:46 a.m., circling the station as it had before. Rhea sat on the cot with her notebook open, writing nothing, just listening. When the sound passed the east wall, she turned her head to track it. When it passed the south, she did the same. "Don't watch it," I said. "I'm not watching, I'm listening. Don't track it. Keep your eyes on one spot and wait." She looked at me for a moment, then lowered her gaze to the notebook. At 2:14, the door handle rattled. Reyes jumped. "That happened last night too," I said. "It stops at 2:15. The handle rattled twice more, then went still. Silence. At 2:15, I stood up to check the south window. The curtains were already open. I had uncovered them at 2:20 the previous night, and not covered them tonight because I had been explaining rules to Reyes. I stopped. The rules said to cover the window between 2:10 and 2:20. It was now 2:15. I had missed the window entirely. "What's wrong?" Reyes asked. "The curtain. I was supposed to close it at 2:10. "So close it now." "It's 2:15. The rule says to uncover it after 2:20. "I can't close it now and then open it in 5 minutes. That's not what the rule says." Reyes shrugged. "So leave it open. The window was open the whole time. Nothing happened." She was right. Nothing had happened. The south-facing window had been uncovered during the entire 2:10 to 2:20 window, and nothing had happened. But that didn't mean nothing would happen later. I crossed to the window and looked out at the slope. Empty. Gray stone, scattered brush, the first hint of starlight on the rocks. I closed the curtains anyway. "What are you doing?" Reyes asked. "You said..." "I know what I said. I'm closing them anyway." I stood at the window until 2:20, then opened the curtains. The slope was still empty. I logged the deviation. 2:10 to 2:20 curtain protocol. Not followed due to training distraction. Window covered from 2:15 to 2:20. No observed anomaly. At 3 a.m., I made the radio check, Copper Basin. Reyes listened from the cot. Dispatch, Station 14, requesting confirmation of trainee badge number 7441. A pause. Then, Station 14, confirm badge number 7441, is assigned to trainee Reyes, temporary detail, effective tonight. Copy. Station 14 out. Reyes smiled, satisfied. I was not satisfied. Something felt wrong, not about Reyes specifically, but about the timing. A trainee at midnight, no advance notice on the roster, arriving during the restricted window. Dispatch had confirmed her, but the rules said to verify badge numbers against the roster, and she was not on the roster. At 3:30, I did the perimeter check alone. I told Reyes to stay in the station and practice the radio protocols. The markers were all present, 312 steps. At Marker E, I heard the voice again, my mother's voice, calling my name from the tree line to the south. Tom, come home. I did not respond. I completed the check and returned to the station. Reyes was standing at the south window when I came in. The curtains were pushed aside. She was staring at the slope. "What are you doing?" "I heard something," she said. "Out there, like someone calling." "Step away from the window." "It sounded like my brother. He's been dead for 3 years." "Step away from the window, now." She turned and looked at me. Her face was pale in the dim light. It was his voice, exactly his voice. "I know. I heard my mother last night. It's not them. Step away." She stepped away. I pulled the curtains fully closed, even though it was after 2:20, even though the rules said to leave them open. "This is insane," Reyes said quietly. "This whole assignment is insane." "Yes." "How long have you been here?" 6 nights. "And you just follow the rules. You don't ask questions. You don't try to find out what's actually happening." I sat down on the cot and looked at her. The people who wrote these rules knew something I don't. They survived long enough to write them down. That's enough for me. Reyes opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She sat down in the desk chair and stared at the floor. At 4 a.m., I walked the maintenance corridor. 47 steps. The bulb at the far end flickered twice but held steady. When I came back, Reyes was asleep in the chair, her head tilted back against the wall. I let her sleep. I made the 5 a.m. radio check alone, Copper Basin, all clear, and watched the sky brighten through the east window. At 6 a.m., I woke her. "Shift's over. You can sleep for real now." She blinked at me, disoriented. "Already?" "Already." I went outside to check the porch. The scuff marks from the previous nights were still there, layered now, forming a thick ring around the station's footprint. But there were new marks too. Not circles, but straight lines. They led from the south window, across the clearing, toward the supply cabin. I followed them for 20 yards, then stopped. The rules said the supply cabin could only be visited during daylight. It was 6:05 a.m. The sun was above the horizon. Daylight. I walked to the supply cabin. The door was standing open. I had not opened it. I had not been to the supply cabin since arriving. The key was still on my ring, green tape, untouched. I stopped 10 yards from the door. Inside, I could see shelves stacked with supplies. Canned food, water jugs, equipment cases. Everything looked normal, undisturbed. But the door was open. I walked back to the station and logged the incident. 6:08 a.m. Supply cabin door found open. Not opened by me. Did not enter. Will investigate during daylight. Reyes was awake again, standing on the porch. "What's out there?" she asked. The supply cabin door was open. "Did you open it?" "No." She looked toward the cabin, then back at me. "Should we check it?" "I'll check it later, after sleep." I went inside, pulled the blackout curtains over the east window to block the morning light, and lay down on the cot. Reyes stayed on the porch for a while. I heard her pacing, heard the creak of the boards under her boots. Eventually, she came inside too. She took the desk chair again. Neither of us spoke. I slept poorly that day. I kept dreaming of the corridor, walking it again and again, counting steps that never reached 47. In the dream, the bulb at the far end grew brighter the longer I walked, until it was blinding, until I couldn't see the walls anymore, until I was walking through white light with no floor beneath my feet. I woke at 3:42 p.m. Reyes was gone. Her duffel was still on the floor beside the desk. Her notebook was open on the chair, her pen lying across it. But she was not in the station. I checked the porch, the clearing, the generator shed. I walked to the supply cabin, still daylight, still permitted, and looked inside. The supplies were undisturbed. No sign of Reyes. I walked the perimeter, checking each marker. All present, no sign of Reyes. At 4:17 p.m., I radioed dispatch. "Dispatch, Station 14. I have a situation. Trainee Reyes is missing. She was present at the end of last night's shift, approximately 0600. I woke at 15:42, and she is no longer at the station. Her personal effects are still here." A long pause. "Station 14, stand by." I waited. 5 minutes, 10. "Station 14, dispatch. Be advised, we have no record of a trainee assigned to your location. Badge number 7441 is not in our system. Please describe the individual." I described her. Female, late 20s, dark hair, standard uniform, arrived in a white Park Service pickup at approximately 12:42 a.m. Another pause. "Station 14, be advised, there is no white Park Service pickup assigned to the Burnt Hollow sector. Your assigned vehicle is a green Forestry Service truck, license plate GS4417, currently parked at the Mammoth Hot Springs administrative lot, per your transfer paperwork." I closed my eyes. "Dispatch, please confirm. You announced Trainee Reyes at midnight. Badge number 7441. You confirmed her badge number at my request during the 3 a.m. check." Station 14, negative. Dispatch made no announcements regarding trainee personnel during last night's shift. Review your logs. I looked at the logbook. I had written the entries myself. Trainee arrival, badge confirmation, training notes. The handwriting was mine. "Dispatch, I have log entries documenting the trainee's arrival and your confirmation." Station 14, your log entries do not match our records. We recommend you review Station 14, Operational Guidelines, Amendment List 4. Over. Amendment List 4? I don't have... The radio went silent. I sat at the desk for a long time, staring at the logbook. Then I opened the manila envelope that had held the original guidelines. There was a fourth sheet of paper inside. I had not seen it before. It was not there when I first read the guidelines 6 days ago. The header read, Station 14, Amendment. List 4, Supplementary Guidelines. 1. If you receive a radio message announcing unscheduled personnel, do not allow them entry to the station if they are already inside when you realize the announcement was unauthorized. Do not confront them. Continue your duties as normal and radio dispatch at the first opportunity. 2. If an individual's badge number is verbally confirmed by dispatch but does not appear on the shift roster, the individual is not authorized personnel. Maintain at least 10 yards distance. Do not share food, water, or supplies. 3. Individuals who arrive between midnight and 5 a.m. and claim to be Park Service employees are not Park Service employees. Individuals who arrive during daylight may be verified by requesting visual confirmation from dispatch via the emergency camera system. To activate the camera, key your radio 7 times in rapid succession on channel 4. 4. Do not search for individuals who go missing during daylight hours. If personal effects are left behind, inventory them and seal them in the storage closet. Do not inspect the contents. 5. If you wake and find yourself alone after believing someone was present, do not attempt to reconstruct the events that led to their arrival. Discard any log entries made during their presence and begin a new log page. 6. The supply cabin door will sometimes be found open. Do not investigate. Do not enter the supply cabin after finding the door open. Wait 24 hours, then check again. If the door is closed, you may enter. 7. If the voice calling your name begins using current information, names of living relatives, details of recent events in your life, do not engage. Do not correct the information if it is wrong. Simply note the discrepancy in your log and continue your duties. I read the amendments 3 times. Then I took the log pages covering Reyes's arrival and tore them out of the book. I folded them twice, put them in the manila envelope, and sealed the envelope in the storage closet with her duffel bag. I started a new log page, the date, the time. Shift begins at 1800 hours. At 5:45 p.m., the radio crackled. All stations, this is dispatch. Daily code phrase for September 25th is Iron Creek. Repeat, Iron Creek. Confirm receipt on your assigned channel. I keyed the mic. Station 14, confirming, Iron Creek. Copy, 14. Be advised, weather system approaching from the northwest. Expect heavy precipitation and possible lightning beginning approximately 2200 hours. Secure all external equipment and confirm emergency protocol readiness. Station 14 copies. Will secure and confirm. Dispatch out. I spent the next 2 hours preparing. I brought the generator fuel cans inside the station, all 6 totaling 30 gallons. I checked the battery supply, 41 AA batteries remaining. I tested both flashlights. I inventoried the food, 18 cans remaining, plus 7 protein bars and 2 boxes of crackers. Water, 3.5 gallons. At 7:30 p.m., I walked the perimeter one final time before the storm. All markers present, 312 steps. The sky to the northwest was black, the clouds moving visibly, faster than any weather system I'd seen in the northern Rockies. By 9 p.m., the wind had picked up. The dead trees on the eastern ridge were swaying, their blackened trunks creaking in the gusts. I sealed the station door and checked every window latch. At 9:42 p.m., the radio crackled again. Station 14, dispatch, emergency protocol activation. Imminent, storm severity upgraded to Category 2. Confirm your readiness to implement blackout protocol procedures. I had not seen any blackout protocol procedures. Dispatch, Station 14. I don't have documentation on blackout protocol. Station 14, refer to your emergency supplement. Orange envelope, bottom drawer of desk. Acknowledge. I opened the bottom drawer. There was an orange envelope inside. I did not remember seeing it before. Dispatch, Station 14. I have the envelope. Acknowledging. Copy 14. Implement protocol at 2200 hours. Dispatch will go silent until 0500 hours. No radio checks during protocol period. Any transmission you receive between 2200 and 0500 is not from dispatch. Do not respond. Acknowledge. Station 14 acknowledges. No response to transmissions between 2200 and 0500. Good luck, 14. Dispatch out. Its radio went to static, then silent. I opened the orange envelope. Station 14, emergency blackout, protocol, category 2. Storm conditions. Effective immediately upon protocol activation, the following procedures supersede all standard operational guidelines. 1. Extinguish all electric lights at 2200 hours exactly. Do not restore power to lighting systems until 0500 hours. Use flashlight or battery lantern only. Conserve battery usage. Limit continuous illumination to 3-minute intervals, followed by 2-minute dark periods. 2. Do not perform perimeter checks during the protocol period. Remain inside the station with the door sealed. If you hear disturbances at the perimeter markers, do not investigate. 3. The south window must remain covered for the entire protocol period. Do not adjust the curtains for any reason. 4. Between 2300 and 2345 hours, you will hear movement outside the station. Do not look through any window during this period. If a window covering is displaced, replace it without looking outside. 5. At midnight, you will receive a radio transmission. The transmission will use today's code phrase. It is not from dispatch. Do not respond. Do not acknowledge. Turn off the radio and do not turn it on again until 0500 hours. 6. Between 0100 and 0300 hours, there will be knocking at the station door. The knocking will follow a pattern. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, pause, 1 knock. This pattern will repeat. Do not count the repetitions. Do not respond. Do not open the door. 7. At 0330 hours, a voice will call your name from the maintenance corridor. The voice will sound like someone you know. It is not someone you know. Do not respond. Do not open the corridor door. Do not verify that the padlock is secure. The act of checking will be interpreted as acknowledgement. 8. If at any point during the protocol period, you feel a compulsion to leave the station, sit on the floor in the center of the main room. Close your eyes. Recite the day's code phrase until the compulsion passes. Do not open your eyes until you have completed a minimum of 21 repetitions. 9. At 0430 hours, you will hear a single tone from the radio, even if the radio is turned off. This tone indicates the end of the active protocol period. You may turn on your flashlight and remain awake until 0500 hours, at which point normal operations may resume. I read the protocol twice. Then I checked my watch. 9:53 p.m. 7 minutes until activation. Outside, the wind was screaming now. I could hear the dead trees snapping somewhere in the distance. Sharp cracks like rifle shots, one after another. Rain began to hammer the metal roof. Lightning flickered through the gaps in the window curtains. At 9:58, I checked my inventory one more time. Flashlight, batteries, water, radio off, south curtain secure, door sealed, corridor padlock in place. At 10 p.m. exactly, I turned off the overhead lights. The darkness was absolute. The storm had blocked out any ambient light from the sky. I clicked on my flashlight, 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off, and sat down on the floor in the center of the room. The first hour passed slowly. I counted the seconds between lightning flashes. I counted the gusts of wind that shook the walls. At 10:32, something heavy crashed into the north side of the station. A branch maybe, or a piece of debris. The wall held. At 10:55, I turned off the flashlight for the 2-minute dark period. In the silence between wind gusts, I heard something new. Footsteps on the porch. Not the compression sound from before. Actual footsteps. Boots on wood, slow and deliberate. I stayed on the floor and did not move. The footsteps crossed the porch from west to east, then stopped. Lightning flashed. In the instant of white light, I saw a silhouette against the east window. A human shape, tall, standing motionless. Then the darkness returned. I did not turn on the flashlight. It was not yet 10:57. The silhouette did not move. I could feel it there, on the other side of the glass, waiting. At 10:57, I turned on the flashlight. The east window showed nothing but black glass streaked with rain. The footsteps resumed. They crossed the porch again, west to east, then descended the steps. I tracked the sound as it moved away from the station toward the generator shed. At 11 p.m., the protocol said movement would begin. I sat in the center of the room and waited. At 11:03, I heard it. Not footsteps this time, something heavier, something with more legs. It was circling the station, moving fast, faster than anything human could move. The sound came from all sides at once. East wall, south wall, west wall, north wall, east wall again. I closed my eyes. The circling continued, round and round, faster and faster, until the sounds blurred together into a continuous roar of motion. The station shook. Dust fell from the ceiling beams. I kept my eyes closed. I did not look at the windows. I did not try to track the sound. At 11:42, the circling stopped. Silence. Even the storm seemed to pause, the wind dropping to nothing, the rain ceasing mid-pour. I opened my eyes. The flashlight had turned off. I had not turned it off. The 3-minute interval had not ended. But the room was dark. I reached for the flashlight and pressed the switch. Nothing. I pressed it again. Nothing. I fumbled in the dark for the battery case. The flashlight's battery compartment was empty. The batteries were gone. I had checked the flashlight at 9:53 p.m. The batteries were full. I found the spare battery box by feel and inserted 2 new batteries. The flashlight clicked on. The room looked exactly as I had left it. Caught against the wall. Desk by the window. Curtains drawn. Door sealed. But on the floor beside me, arranged in a neat circle, were the 2 batteries that had been in the flashlight. They were standing upright, balanced on their ends, perfectly aligned. I did not touch them. I stood up and moved to the cot, keeping my back to the wall. I checked my watch. 11:44 p.m. The protocol said the movement period ended at 11:45. At 11:45 exactly, the storm resumed. Wind, rain, lightning. The normal sounds of a northern Rockies thunderstorm. I logged the incident in my notebook. I did not trust myself to cross to the desk. Batteries removed from flashlight during dark period. Found arranged on floor. Did not observe removal. Did not observe arrangement. At midnight, the radio crackled. I had turned it off at 10 p.m. following the protocol. The radio was off. The radio was definitely off. Station 14, dispatch, Iron Creek, all clear. Report your status. The voice was perfect. The same bored male dispatcher who had given me the code phrase at 5:45. Iron Creek, today's phrase. I did not respond. Station 14, this is dispatch. Please report your status. Iron Creek. I picked up the radio and looked at the power switch. It was in the off position. The radio was off, but the speaker was producing sound. Station 14, we're showing activity at your perimeter. Confirm you are secure. Iron Creek. I set the radio on the floor, face down, and covered it with a blanket from the cot. The voice continued, muffled now but still audible. Station 14, respond. This is an emergency. Iron Creek. I moved to the far corner of the room and sat down with my back against the wall. Tom, respond. This is dispatch. We need confirmation that you're alive. Iron Creek. My name. The dispatcher had never used my name before. Tom, please. We're sending a rescue team. They'll be there in 30 minutes. Just stay on the radio. Iron Creek. The protocol said not to respond. The protocol said the transmission was not from dispatch. Tom, don't you want to go home? Don't you want to see your family? Just key the mic. Let us know you're okay. Iron Creek. I stayed in the corner. I did not move. At 12:31 a.m., the radio went silent. I did not uncover it. I did not check to see if it was still off. I stayed in the corner with my flashlight cycling, 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off, and waited. At 1 a.m., the knocking began. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, pause, 1 knock, then again, 3, pause, 2, pause, 1. Then again, the protocol said not to count the repetitions. I tried not to count, but some part of my mind was counting anyway. 7 cycles, 8, 9, 10. The pattern never varied. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. At 1:24, a voice joined the knocking. Tom, let me in. It's cold out here. The voice belonged to Reyes. Tom, I got lost in the storm. I've been walking for hours. Please let me in. 3 knocks, 2 knocks, 1 knock. Tom, I can see the light under the door. I know you're in there. Why won't you answer? I closed my eyes. The protocol said not to respond. The protocol said not to open the door. Tom, please, something's following me. I can hear it in the trees. Please. The knocking continued. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Tom, I'm so tired. I'm so cold. Just let me rest, just for a minute. At 1:37, the knocking pattern changed. 4 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, pause, 1 knock. The protocol had only mentioned the 3-2-1 pattern. It had not mentioned a 4-3-2-1 pattern. Tom, I found something in the supply cabin. Something important. You need to see it. Please open the door. 4, 3, 2, 1. Tom, the markers are gone. All of them. Something pulled them out of the ground. I watched it happen. Please let me help you. At 1:48, the voice changed. Tommy. A woman's voice now. My mother's voice. Tommy, sweetheart, open the door. It's Mom. 4, 3, 2, 1. I know you think I'm dead, Tommy, but I'm not. I've been here the whole time, waiting for you. Please let me in. I pressed my hands over my ears. The knocking continued. I could feel it through the floor, through the walls, vibrating in my chest. Tommy, don't you love me anymore? Don't you miss me? At 2 a.m., the knocking stopped. Silence. I lowered my hands. My ears were ringing. My heart was pounding. But the station was quiet. I checked my watch. 2:01 a.m. The protocol said the knocking would continue between 100 and 0300 hours. It had stopped early. I did not trust the silence. I stayed in the corner, cycling the flashlight, counting the minutes. At 2:15, I should have been covering the south window, but the protocol said to keep it covered for the entire duration. I did not move. At 2:47, I heard a new sound, scratching. It was coming from inside the station. I swept the flashlight around the room. Nothing. The walls were bare. The floor was clear. The scratching continued. It was coming from the storage closet. I had sealed the closet earlier after inventorying Rhea's belongings. The door was closed. I could see it from where I sat, closed and latched. The scratching intensified. It sounded like fingernails on wood. Long, slow strokes. I did not open the closet. The protocol had not mentioned the closet. The protocol had not said what to do if something was inside. The scratching continued until 2:59 a.m. Then it stopped. At 3 a.m., there was no radio check. The protocol said no checks until 5 a.m. At 3:30, a voice came from the maintenance corridor. Tom, come here. I need to show you something." The voice was my father's. He had died when I was 12. I barely remembered the sound of his voice, but I knew with absolute certainty that this was it. "Tom, the corridor is different now. Come and see." The padlock was on the corridor door. I had locked it myself. I had verified the combination. "Just open the door, Tom. Just take a look. You don't have to come inside." The protocol said not to respond. The protocol said not to open the door. The protocol said not to verify that the padlock was secure. I sat in the corner and did not move. "Tom, I'm waiting. I've been waiting so long." The voice continued for 43 minutes. It talked about my childhood. It talked about fishing trips and baseball games, and the way my father used to read me stories before bed. It got the details right, details I had forgotten, details no one else could know. At 4:14, the voice said something else. "Tom, the corridor is 42 steps now, not 47. You should check." Then it went silent. I sat in the dark and thought about what the voice had said. 42 steps, not 47. If the corridor had changed, the protocol should have mentioned it. If the corridor had changed, something was wrong. But the protocol said not to check. The protocol said the act of checking would be interpreted as acknowledgement. I did not check. At 4:30 a.m., a single tone came from the radio. High and clear, like a tuning fork. Even through the blanket, I heard it. The active protocol period was over. I uncovered the radio. The power switch was still in the off position. The display was dark, but the tone had come from somewhere. I turned on the radio. Static. I switched to channel 6. Static. I switched to channel 4. "Station 14, dispatch. Confirm you are receiving. Over." The voice was different. A woman this time, younger, with a southern accent. Not the regular dispatcher. "Station 14, this is dispatch. We show protocol period ended. Confirm your status." I hesitated. The protocol said the end was at 4:30. It was 4:31 now. The protocol said normal operations resumed at 5 a.m. "Station 14, if you are receiving, please respond. We need to confirm you survived the night." I keyed the mic. "Dispatch, Station 14. I'm here. Requesting confirmation code." "Station 14, code phrase is Iron Creek. Repeat, Iron Creek." That was today's phrase. That was the correct phrase. "Dispatch, can you confirm this is the first transmission since protocol activation? I received multiple transmissions during the protocol period." A pause. "Station 14, negative. Dispatch has been offline since 2200 hours. This is our first transmission since protocol activation. Any transmissions you received during protocol period were not from us. Do not respond to those frequencies again. I looked at the blanket-covered radio on the floor. The transmission had come through, even with the radio off. I picked it up and examined the casing. There were scratches on the battery cover that hadn't been there before. Station 14, acknowledge. Station 14 copies. First transmission since protocol activation. Acknowledged. Copy 14, storm is clearing. Sunrise at 06:07. Resupply scheduled for 0800 hours. Confirm emergency supply needs. I thought about the batteries, the missing markers, Rhea's belongings in the closet, the scratching. Dispatch, requesting additional batteries and flashlights. 2 flashlights and 48 batteries if available. Copy Station 14. Anything else? Negative at this time. Copy. Dispatch out until standard check times resume. Stay safe, 14. The radio went to static. I turned on the overhead lights for the first time since 10 p.m. The station looked the same, dusty, sparse, intact. The batteries were still arranged in a circle on the floor where I had left them. The storage closet was still closed. I did not open the closet. I did not check the corridor. At 5 a.m., I made the first standard radio check. Iron Creek. All clear. At 5:30, I walked to the east window and looked outside. The storm had passed. The sky was pale gray, the clouds thinning in the east. The dead trees on the ridge were still standing. I could see gaps where some had fallen, but most remained upright. At 6:07, the sun cleared the horizon. At 6:15, I went outside. The clearing was transformed. Debris littered every surface. Branches, pine needles, chunks of bark. The generator shed was intact, but its door hung open. The supply cabin door was closed. I walked the perimeter. All 6 markers were present, but the reflective tags were gone from all of them. Not missing, but removed. I found them piled neatly at the base of Marker A, stacked like coins. I walked 312 steps around the perimeter. Then I walked it again. 312 both times. Back at the station, I counted the steps to the supply cabin. 63 steps from the station door. The supply cabin door was closed and locked. I used the green taped key and went inside. The supplies were exactly as I remembered. Canned food on the left shelves, water jugs on the right, equipment cases at the back. Nothing disturbed, but on the floor, just inside the doorway, someone had written in chalk. The letters were blocky and uneven, like a child's handwriting. 42. I photographed the writing with my phone. Then I scuffed it out with my boot and locked the supply cabin door behind me. At 8 a.m., the resupply truck arrived. It was not Hendricks this time. A younger man, maybe 30, with the standard uniform and the flat hat. His name tag said Peralta. Station 14, he asked, climbing out of the truck. That's right. Hell of a night. We lost 3 stations on the North Ridge. Trees came down on the access roads. You're the only one who kept radio contact through the whole thing. I helped him unload the supplies. Food, water, batteries, 2 new flashlights, fuel for the generator. We carried it all inside and I inventoried each item while he waited. 48 batteries, I said. Confirmed. Sign here. He handed me a clipboard with a manifest. I signed. Anything unusual to report? He asked. I thought about Reyes, the knocking, the radio transmissions, the corridor voice, the chalk writing. Storm damage only, I said. Lost some reflective tags. Found them this morning. That all? That's all. He nodded and climbed back in the truck. Resupply in 11 days. Try not to die out here. I watched him drive away. The next 7 nights followed a new pattern. The amendment list had expanded. I found another sheet of paper in the manila envelope that morning, typed on Park Service letterhead with the header Station 14. Amendment List 5. 1. Following any Category 2 or higher storm event, the perimeter markers must be physically inspected at sunrise. If tags are found removed, replace them immediately. Do not ask how they were removed. 2. If you find writing in or around the supply cabin, document it and erase it. Do not attempt to interpret the writing. Do not discuss the writing with dispatch or other personnel. 3. The maintenance corridor must not be walked for 72 hours following a storm event. After 72 hours, resume normal corridor checks. If the step count has changed, record the new count and continue your duties. 4. Any personal effects left by previous personnel or visitors must remain sealed in the storage closet for a minimum of 30 days. After 30 days, they may be inventoried and either disposed of or shipped to the park administrative office. Do not open sealed containers before the 30-day period. 5. If the radio produces sound while in the off position, remove the batteries and store the radio in the storage closet for 24 hours. Use a backup radio during this period. A backup radio is located in the supply cabin, top shelf, gray case. 6. Between 0100 and 0300 hours on any night, knocking may occur at the station door. Standard knocking protocol applies. If the knock pattern changes from the expected sequence, do not acknowledge the change. Treat any knock pattern as a standard knock and do not respond. I followed the amendments. I waited 72 hours before walking the corridor again. On the 3rd night after the storm, I walked it. The bulb at the far end was out, but my flashlight reached the concrete wall. I counted my steps. 42. I stopped at the end wall, 42 steps, not 47, 5 steps shorter. The amendment said to record the new count and continue. I walked back to the station, closed the corridor door, and wrote in the logbook, corridor step count changed. Previous, 47, current, 42. Difference, 5 steps. No visible alteration to corridor length. The next night, I walked it again. 42 steps. The night after that, 42 steps. The corridor had changed. I did not know why. I did not investigate. On the 9th night after the storm, the voice came back. I was doing the 11 p.m. perimeter check when I heard it. Not my mother's voice this time, not my father's. A child's voice, high and frightened, calling from the darkness beyond the eastern tree line. Help me, please help me, I'm lost. I continued walking. Marker D, marker E, marker F. Please, it's so dark, I can't find my way back. The voice followed me, matching my pace, staying just out of sight in the trees. Are you a ranger? My dad said rangers help people. Please help me. I completed the perimeter check and returned to the station. The voice followed me all the way to the porch, then stopped. Why won't you help me? Why won't anyone help me? I went inside and locked the door. In the logbook, I wrote, voice during 11 p.m. Check. Child, apparent age 6 to 8. Asked for help. Did not respond. Did not approach. The voice came back every night for the next week. Sometimes it was a child. Sometimes it was Reyes. Sometimes it was my mother or father. Once it was my own voice, calling my name from the tree line. I never responded. I never approached. On the 17th night of my posting, dispatch announced a second trainee. Station 14, dispatch. Iron Creek. Be advised, you have a trainee arriving at your location. ETA 45 minutes. Name is Marsh. Badge number 8117. Acknowledge. I checked the shift roster. It had been updated. A new sheet taped over the old one with my name and badge number. And below it, Marsh, trainee, 8117. The handwriting was different from the first roster. It looked official. Dispatch, Station 14. Confirming trainee Marsh, badge 8117, ETA 45 minutes. Request verification. Is this trainee on my updated shift roster? Station 14, affirmative. Trainee Marsh added to roster per administrative order 447, dated today. Confirm receipt. Station 14 confirms. Dispatch out. I waited. At 12:41 a.m., I heard a vehicle on the service road. A green forestry service truck emerged from the trees and stopped in the clearing. The license plate was visible in my flashlight beam. GS 4417. That was my assigned vehicle, the one supposedly parked at Mammoth Hot Springs. A figure climbed out. Male, mid-20s, standard uniform. He approached the porch with his hands visible. Station 14, he called. Stop there, badge. He reached slowly into his jacket and produced an ID. I took it, keeping 10 yards between us, and examined it under my flashlight. Marsh, David L. Badge number 8117. The photo matched the man in front of me. You're on the roster, I said. Come inside. He relaxed visibly. Jesus, I thought you were going to shoot me. I don't have a gun. Even better. Inside, I made him sit on the cot while I radioed dispatch. Dispatch, Station 14. Trainee Marsh has arrived, requesting visual verification via emergency camera system. Station 14, stand by. I keyed the radio 7 times in rapid succession on Channel 4, as Amendment 3 had instructed. A click came from the radio, then a hum. Station 14, visual verification confirmed. Badge 8117 matches personnel file. You are clear to proceed with training. Copy dispatch. Station 14 out. Marsh was watching me with a curious expression. What was that about? Protocol. For every trainee. For anyone who arrives between midnight and 5 a.m. I sat down at the desk. You read the operational guidelines. Some of them. Hendricks gave me a summary. A summary won't keep you alive. I handed him the typed sheets. The original guidelines, the amendments, the emergency protocols. He read through them slowly, asking occasional questions. I answered as precisely as I could. At 1:40, I told him we needed to seal the door. Already? I thought, don't think, just seal the door. He closed it. I threw the deadbolt. At 1:45, the compression sound began. Marsh sat on the cot, perfectly still, listening. What is that? I don't know. Don't track it. The sound circled the station, east, south, west, north, east again. Marsh's eyes kept flicking toward the walls, following the noise. I said, don't track it. I can't help it. It's right there. Close your eyes. He closed them. The circling continued. At 2:14, the door handle rattled. Marsh flinched, but kept his eyes closed. That's normal, I said. It stops at 2:15. The handle rattled twice more, then stopped. At 2:15, I opened the south curtains. The slope was empty. Marsh opened his eyes. Christ. You get used to it. Do you know what it is? No. Don't you want to know? I looked at him. He was young, younger than me, younger than Reyes had been. His face was pale, his hands trembling slightly. I want to survive, I said. Knowing doesn't help with that. He was quiet for a moment. Then, The last guy at this station, what happened to him? I don't know. I'm the first posting since they reopened it. They reopened it? I hadn't known that until I said it, but it felt true. The station had a history. Someone had written the rules for a reason. Get some sleep, I said. Tomorrow night, you're doing the perimeter checks alone. Marsh stayed for 6 nights. He learned fast, quicker than I had, though he asked more questions. On his 3rd night, he found a tag missing from marker B and replaced it without investigating. On his 4th night, he heard the child's voice calling from the tree line and didn't respond. On his 5th night, he walked the corridor and counted 42 steps without comment. On his 6th night, he made a mistake. We were in the station at 2:30 a.m., lights out, waiting for the 3 a.m. radio check. The storm had passed 2 weeks earlier, but the nights were getting colder and frost had started to form on the windows before dawn. Marsh was sitting on the cot, flashlight off, when he spoke. I saw something outside. I was at the desk, updating the logbook. Where? South window, when I got up to use the head. The south window's covered. The curtain slipped. Just for a second, I saw something on the slope. I set down the pen. What did you see? A person, standing about 30 yards out, just standing there. Facing the station? I don't know. I looked away, like the rules say. I crossed to the south window. The curtain was in place, but one corner had come loose from the Velcro, a section maybe 6 inches wide. I resealed it. How long was the curtain open? I don't know, 5 seconds, maybe 10. Did the person move? I don't know, I looked away. I stood at the window, thinking. The south window rule only applied between 2:10 and 2:20. It was 2:32 now. The curtain being open shouldn't have mattered, but something was out there, something Marsh had seen. What did it look like? Marsh was quiet for a long moment. It looked like me. I turned around. Like you? Same height, same build, same jacket. He was staring at the floor, his voice flat. I thought it was a reflection at first, but there's no reflection on the outside of the glass, and it was 30 yards away. I radioed dispatch. Dispatch, Station 14, Iron Creek, reporting possible personnel sighting at South Perimeter, approximately 30 yards from station, requesting guidance. A pause, then. Station 14 described the sighting. Trainee Marsh observed a figure on the south slope at approximately 02:30 hours. Figure matched trainee's physical description. No movement observed. Trainee looked away per standard protocol. Another pause, longer this time. Station 14, be advised, do not attempt to verify the sighting. Do not send trainee outside before dawn. Keep the south window covered until sunrise. Acknowledge. Station 14 acknowledges. Dispatch out. Marsh was watching me. What does that mean? It means we stay inside and keep the window covered. But what does it mean? Why would something out there look like me? I didn't have an answer. I had followed the rules for 17 nights and never asked what they meant. The rules kept you alive. That was all that mattered. Get some sleep, I said. We'll check the south slope at dawn. He didn't argue. He lay down on the cot and closed his eyes. I sat at the desk with the flashlight and waited. At 3 a.m., I made the radio check, Iron Creek, all clear. At 4 a.m., I walked the corridor, 42 steps, no voice. At 5 a.m., I made the final check. Iron Creek, all clear. At 6:07, the sun came up. I went outside to check the south slope. There were footprints in the frost. a single set, leading from a point about 30 yards away, straight toward the south window. They stopped 5 yards from the station wall. The prints were boot prints, the same size and tread pattern as Marsh's boots. I photographed them with my phone. Then I watched the frost melt in the morning sun, erasing the evidence. When I went back inside, Marsh was awake, sitting on the cot. "Well?" "Footprints," I said. "Leading toward the station. They matched your boots." He was quiet. "You didn't go outside last night," I said. "I was watching the door. You didn't leave." "I know." "So something else made those prints. Something that looks like me." I sat down at the desk. "Have you ever heard of this before? In other postings?" "No. But Hendricks said..." He stopped. "Said what?" "She said the Burnt Hollow sector has a high turnover rate. People don't usually last more than 2 weeks." I checked the calendar. 17 nights. I was already past the average. "Did she say why?" "She said some people break the rules, and some people follow the rules perfectly, but still see things they can't explain, and eventually they request a transfer." "Did she say what happens to the ones who break the rules?" Marsh shook his head. "She didn't have to. I saw the transfer logs. 11 Rangers assigned to Station 14 in the last 3 years. 8 requested transfers within 14 days. 2 were reassigned to administrative duties for health reasons. And the 11th? Medical leave, no details." I thought about Reyes, the trainee who wasn't real, who had appeared from nowhere and vanished the same way. I thought about her voice calling from the tree line, night after night. "How do you know you're real?" I asked. Marsh looked at me. "What?" "You arrived at midnight. You had a badge. Dispatch confirmed you. But Reyes had all of that too, and she wasn't real." I saw the visual verification. The camera system confirmed my file. The camera system confirmed Reyes too. At least something confirmed her. And then she disappeared, and dispatch said they had no record of her. Marsh was pale now. "So how do you know?" "I don't. But you've been here 6 nights, and you haven't disappeared. You follow the rules. You don't ask too many questions. That's more than Reyes did." "That's not very reassuring." "No, it isn't." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "What if the thing outside last night, the thing that looked like me, what if that's the real me, and I'm the copy?" I had no answer for that. On his 7th night, Marsh requested a transfer. I radioed dispatch and confirmed the request. They said a replacement would arrive in 3 days. The replacement never came. On the 20th night, dispatch went silent. I made the midnight check as usual. Iron Creek. I waited for confirmation. Static. I tried again. Dispatch, Station 14. Midnight check. Iron Creek. Acknowledge. Static. I switched to Channel 4. Dispatch, Station 14. Emergency channel. Requesting acknowledgement. Over. Nothing. I tried for 30 minutes, cycling through all available frequencies. No response. The radio was receiving. I could hear the static, the occasional crackle of atmospheric interference, but no human voice answered. At 12:45, I followed the protocol. Radio silence meant something was wrong. I sealed the station, turned off the lights, and waited. The 1:45 window passed without incident. The 2:10 to 2:20 curtain procedure went smoothly, but the silence continued. At 3 a.m., I tried again. Dispatch, Station 14. Iron Creek, acknowledge. A crackle. Then a voice. Not the regular dispatcher, not anyone I recognized. Station 14, Iron Creek confirmed. All stations are reporting nominal. Resume normal operations. The voice was wrong. It sounded like words being played through a broken speaker, each syllable slightly out of sync with the ones around it. Dispatch, request verification code. Iron Creek is today's code. Verification complete. Dispatch, I'm requesting the backup verification sequence per Emergency Protocol 5. There was no Emergency Protocol 5. I was testing. A pause. Station 14, backup sequence is 74219. Acknowledge. I had no idea what the backup sequence should be. There was no backup sequence. But the voice had provided one, which meant it was making things up. Dispatch, negative. That sequence is incorrect. Confirm your identity. Silence. Then, Station 14. This is dispatch. Resume normal operations. That is an order. I turned off the radio. For the next 4 hours, I sat in the dark and waited. The knocking came at 1 a.m. The standard pattern, 3-2-1, repeating for hours. The voice came from the corridor at 3:30. My father again, asking me to count the steps, telling me the number had changed again. I did not respond. I did not open the door. At 5 a.m., I tried the radio one more time. Dispatch, Station 14, dawn check, requesting emergency contact with Mammoth Hot Springs Administrative Office. Over. Static, then faintly. Station 14, this is Mammoth Hot Springs. Confirm you are receiving. Over. A different voice, female, tired, real. Mammoth, Station 14, I'm receiving. Be advised, standard dispatch appears compromised. I've been receiving false transmissions on Channel 6, requesting emergency guidance. Station 14, copy. Standard dispatch has been offline since 2200 hours last night. We had a system failure. All sectors were affected. Repeat, all sectors were affected. You are the only station that maintained contact through the night. Mammoth, I did not maintain contact. I received false transmissions claiming to be dispatch. I did not respond after the first anomalous contact. A pause. Station 14, confirm. You did not respond to any transmissions after detecting the anomaly. Confirmed. I followed radio silence protocols. Copy Station 14, stand by. I waited 5 minutes, 10. Station 14, Mammoth Hot Springs. Emergency resupply team is en route. ETA 4 hours. Maintain radio silence until they arrive. Do not respond to any transmissions on any frequency until you have visual confirmation of the resupply team. Acknowledge. Station 14 acknowledges. One more thing, 14. The system failure affected all sectors, but Station 14 is the only station that received false transmissions. Do you understand what that means? I thought about it. Something was specifically targeting this station. Correct. Stay inside until the team arrives. Mammoth out. The resupply team arrived at 9:43 a.m. 3 vehicles, 2 trucks, and a satellite communications van. Hendricks was driving the lead truck. She stepped out and looked at me for a long moment. You're still here. Yes, ma'am. 21 nights. 21. She handed me a new manila envelope. Updated protocols. Read them today. Memorized them tonight. The next storm is coming in 48 hours. I took the envelope. How bad is it? I asked. The worst one yet. Category 3. They're evacuating the north sectors. And Station 14. Station 14 doesn't evacuate. Station 14 monitors. I looked at the dead trees on the ridge, at the supply cabin, at the generator shed. What am I monitoring? Hendricks met my eyes. The boundary. You're monitoring the boundary. What boundary? The one that keeps what's in here from getting out there. She climbed back in the truck. The satellite van crew was already setting up equipment on the north side of the clearing. A dish antenna, a bank of monitors, cables running into the station. "New communication system," Hendricks said through the window. "Hardened against interference. You'll have direct video link to Mammoth during the storm. And if the video link fails, then you follow the protocols, same as always." She drove away. The van crew finished their setup and followed. I stood in the clearing and read the new protocols. Station 14, Emergency Protocol. Update, Category 3 Conditions. 1. During Category 3 events, all perimeter checks are suspended. Do not leave the station for any reason between protocol activation and dawn. 2. The maintenance corridor must be sealed with the provided security bar. Do not check the corridor during the protocol period. Do not count steps. Do not listen to sounds from the corridor. 3. All windows must be covered for the entire protocol period. Use the provided blackout shutters in addition to the standard curtains. Do not adjust any covering for any reason. 4. The satellite uplink will provide continuous video monitoring. If the video feed fails, switch to audio-only mode. If audio fails, assume the station is under direct observation and do not speak aloud. 5. Between midnight and 3 a.m., you may hear your own voice speaking from inside the station. It is not you. Do not respond. Do not argue. Do not correct anything it says. I read the protocols 3 times. Then I spent the next 47 hours preparing. I installed the blackout shutters on all 4 windows. I tested them repeatedly. Closed, opened, closed. Until I could do it in darkness by feel alone. I inventoried everything. 53 cans of food, 8 gallons of water, 72 batteries, 4 flashlights, 1 backup radio, 1 satellite uplink, 1 security bar. I sealed the corridor with the security bar. I tested the satellite uplink with Mammoth and confirmed video feed on 3 separate occasions. On the 23rd night at 8 p.m., dispatch broadcast the code phrase Black Ridge. At 9 p.m., the storm hit. It was worse than the first one, worse than anything I'd experienced in 6 years of backcountry work. The wind didn't just blow, it screamed. The dead trees on the ridge fell in waves, the crashes audible even over the roar of the storm. The station shook continuously. At 10 p.m., I activated the protocol. All lights off, all windows covered, security bar in place on the corridor, satellite uplink active. The screen showed Mammoth's monitoring station, a room full of equipment, and 3 technicians watching multiple feeds. One of them was Hendricks. Station 14, Mammoth. Black Ridge. We have visual. Confirm your status. Station 14 is secure. All windows covered. Corridor sealed. Ready for protocol period. Copy 14. We'll maintain visual monitoring throughout. Remember the protocols. Mammoth out. The screen went to a static view of the monitoring room. I could see the technicians working at their stations, occasionally glancing at the camera. At 11 p.m., the circling began. It was louder this time, not just the compression sound, but something heavier, something with weight behind it. The station shook with each pass. I could feel it in my chest, in my teeth. At 11:23, the satellite feed flickered. The monitoring room was still visible, but the image had degraded, grainy, pixelated, colors shifting. One of the technicians looked up at the camera and said something I couldn't hear. At 11:31, the feed cut to static. I switched to audio only. A burst of white noise, then Hendrix's voice. Station 14, we've lost video. Audio is degraded. Confirm you can hear me. Confirmed. I can hear you. Copy. Maintain audio contact. Report any anomalies. Understood. The circling continued. At 11:42, it stopped. In the silence, I heard something new. Footsteps inside the station. Not outside. Inside. Heavy boots on the wooden floor, walking slowly from the direction of the corridor. The corridor was sealed. The security bar was in place. The footsteps stopped. Tom! My own voice, speaking from somewhere behind me. Tom, you should check the corridor. I did not respond. I did not turn around. Tom, the step count has changed again. It's 37 now, 37 steps. I stayed silent. Tom, look at me. I'm standing right behind you. I did not look. Tom, the security bar isn't secure. It's hanging loose. Something is coming through. I heard metal scraping, the sound of the security bar moving against its brackets. I did not turn around. Tom! The voice was closer now, almost at my ear. Tom, don't you want to see what you look like? I closed my eyes and recited the code phrase. Black Ridge, Black Ridge, Black Ridge. Tom. A whisper now. Tom, I'm you. I'm the part of you that stays here. I'm the part of you that never leaves. Black Ridge, Black Ridge, Black Ridge. The footsteps retreated. The scraping stopped. Silence. At midnight, the radio crackled. Station 14, this is dispatch. Black Ridge. Confirm your status. I did not respond. The protocol said audio failure meant assume observation. But audio hadn't failed. I could hear Hendrix clearly. Station 14, Mammoth. We're showing a secondary signal on your audio frequency. Confirm that was not you requesting status. A secondary signal. Something else had transmitted on my frequency. I keyed the mic. Mammoth, Station 14. Negative. I did not transmit. I heard the transmission, but did not respond. Copy 14. The secondary signal matched your voice signature. Whatever is in there with you is broadcasting. I looked at the radio. The transmission indicator light was off. I had not keyed the mic, but something had. Mammoth, advise. 14. Maintain audio silence. We'll broadcast a tone every 15 minutes to confirm link. Do not respond to anything except the tone. Acknowledge with one mic click. I clicked the mic once. Copy 14. First tone in 15 minutes. Mammoth out. For the next 4 hours, I sat in silence. The storm raged. The circling resumed and stopped 3 times. The voice from inside the station spoke twice more. Once claiming the windows were open. Once claiming someone was knocking at the door. I did not respond. I did not check. I did not move. At 2:47 a.m., the tone came from the radio. High and clear, 15 seconds long. I clicked the mic once in response. Copy 14. Tone acknowledged. 3 hours to dawn. At 3 a.m., the knocking began. The standard pattern. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Over and over, relentless, shaking the door in its frame. At 3:12, a new pattern emerged. 4, 3, 2, 1. At 3:29, the pattern accelerated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At 3:45, the knocking stopped. A voice from outside. Tom, it's Marsh. I came back. The transfer was canceled. Please let me in. I did not respond. Tom, I can see through the window. The shutters aren't closed properly. I can see you sitting at the desk. Please open the door. The shutters were closed. I had checked them 7 times. The voice was lying. Tom, please. The storm is getting worse. I can't survive out here. I clicked the mic once. The tone came immediately. Not from Mammoth, just the same high, clear tone I'd heard at 4:30 during the first storm. Station 14, Mammoth. Tone was not scheduled. Confirm you did not request emergency contact. I clicked twice for no. Copy. We're reading an unknown signal override on your frequency. Someone or something is attempting to establish communication. Do not respond to any voice contact. Tones only. Acknowledge. 1 click. Copy. Sunrise in 90 minutes. Hold position. Mammoth out. I held position. At 5:36 a.m., the storm began to subside. The wind dropped. The rain thinned. The circling had stopped hours ago, and the knocking had not resumed. At 6:03, the satellite video feed restored. Hendricks was on screen, her face gray with fatigue. Station 14, Mammoth. Visual restored. Confirm your status verbally. Station 14 is secure. No breaches. No injuries. Ready for dawn inspection. Copy 14. Dawn in 4 minutes. Wait until full light before opening any exterior access. Understood. At 6:07, the sun cleared the horizon. I opened the blackout shutters one by one. Each window showed the same view. The clearing, the dead trees, the damage from the storm. Branches everywhere. One of the perimeter markers, marker D, had been knocked over. I opened the front door. The porch was empty. But in the frost on the clearing floor, I could see them, hundreds of footprints, overlapping and crisscrossing, all leading toward the station. None of them led away. I walked the perimeter. Marker D was Dane, as expected. Markers A, B, C, E, and F were intact. I replaced marker D with a spare post and wired on a new reflective tag. At the supply cabin, I found the door open again. Inside, on the floor, chalk writing. 37. I photographed it and erased it. Back at the station, I checked the corridor. The security bar was in place exactly as I had left it. I removed it and walked the corridor, counting my steps. 37, 10 steps shorter than before. 15 steps shorter than the original count. I logged the change and sealed the corridor again. At 8 a.m., the resupply team arrived. Different faces this time. I didn't recognize anyone. But their badges checked out. The roster was updated, and the visual verification confirmed them all. They replaced the damaged equipment, restocked the supplies, and ran diagnostics on the satellite system. One of them, a young woman named Chen, asked me how long I'd been posted here. 24 nights, she looked surprised. That's longer than anyone in the last 5 years. So I've heard. What's your secret? I thought about it. I follow the rules. That's it? That's it. She shook her head. Most people can't do it. They see something, they want to understand it. They hear something, they want to investigate. They can't just follow the rules. Then most people don't survive. The team left at 10 a.m. I ate, inventoried the new supplies, and lay down on the cot. I slept for 8 hours, dreamless and deep. When I woke, it was 6 p.m. The sun was setting. Another night was beginning. I prepared the station as I always did. Checked the windows, tested the flashlights, verified the radio. At 6:15, I walked to the desk and opened the top drawer. Inside was a clean notebook, blank, waiting. And beside it, a new sheet of typed paper. Station 14, Baton Pass Protocol. When your tour of duty ends, prepare a complete briefing for your replacement. Include all observed anomalies, all protocol deviations, all amendments discovered during your posting. Be precise, be complete. Your briefing may be the only thing that keeps them alive. I looked at the notebook. Then I looked at the window, at the tree line, at the darkness gathering beyond the glass. I picked up a pen and began to write. To whoever reads this, my name is Tom. I was assigned to Station 14, Burnt Hollow Sector, on September 19th. I am writing this briefing on the 41st night of my posting, per Baton Pass protocol. What follows is everything I learned about surviving in this place. Follow these instructions exactly. Do not deviate. Do not investigate. Do not question. The rules are not arbitrary. The rules are the only thing standing between you and what lives in the burnt hollow. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it does what it does. But I know that it watches. It waits. It tests. And it never stops. 1. Never patrol the perimeter between 1:45 a.m. and 2:15 a.m. Remain in the station with the exterior door sealed during this window. If you are already outside when 1:45 a.m. arrives, return to the station immediately and seal the door. Do not run. 2. If you hear your name called from the tree line, do not respond verbally. Do not call back. Continue your current task in silence. The voice will use people you know. The voice will use people who are dead. The voice will use your own voice. It does not matter. Do not respond. 3. The supply cabin at the North Clearing may be visited only during daylight hours. If you must retrieve supplies after sunset, radio dispatch on Channel 6 and request authorization using today's code phrase. Wait for confirmation before proceeding. If confirmation does not come within 5 minutes, do not proceed. If you find the supply cabin door open, do not enter for 24 hours. 4. Do not acknowledge the second knock. If someone knocks on the station door, count to 30 before responding. After 30 seconds, you may answer. If a second knock occurs before you answer, regardless of whether 30 seconds have passed, do not answer the door. Do not speak. Wait in silence until dawn. 5. The south-facing window must be covered between 2:10 a.m. and 2:20 a.m. Use the blackout curtains provided. After 2:20 a.m., the curtains must be removed. The window must be uncovered for the remainder of the night. During storm events, all windows must be covered for the entire protocol period. 6. If you observe an animal moving backward, walking, running, or crawling in reverse, look away immediately. Do not watch it. Do not follow it. Do not attempt to photograph or document it. Note the time in your logbook and continue your duties. 7. The maintenance corridor behind the station must be walked at exactly 4 a.m. during normal operations. Count your steps. The count may change. Record the new count and continue. During storm events, seal the corridor with the security bar and do not check it until dawn. 8. Radio checks occur at midnight, 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. during normal operations. Use Channel 6. If dispatch uses yesterday's code phrase, do not respond. Switch to Channel 4 and wait. During storm events, maintain audio-only contact and respond only to scheduled tones. 9. The generator shed may be entered only if the red indicator light beside the door is lit. If the light is off, but you can hear the generator running, do not enter the shed. Return to the station and wait. 10. If you see another person in the sector between midnight and 5 a.m., verify their badge number against the shift roster before approaching. If their badge number does not match, or if they cannot produce a badge, maintain at least 20 yards of distance and radio dispatch immediately. Visual verification is available via the emergency camera system. 11. The perimeter markers must be checked at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., and 3:30 a.m. during normal operations. If a tag is missing, replace it. Do not search for the missing tag. Do not investigate. 12. After midnight, do not turn your back to the eastern tree line. 13. If the station's interior lights flicker more than 3 times within a 60-second period, turn them off and use only your flashlight until 1 hour has passed without flickering. 14. If you feel a compulsion to leave the station outside of scheduled times, sit down, close your eyes, and recite the day's code phrase 7 times. If the compulsion persists, radio dispatch on Channel 4. I wrote for 3 hours. I recorded every incident, every amendment, every protocol I had learned. I described Reyes and what she had been. I described Marsh and what had mimicked him. I described the voice, the knocking, the circling, the footsteps inside the station. When I finished, the notebook was full. I sealed it in a plastic bag and placed it in the desk drawer. Tomorrow, I would radio dispatch and request a transfer. Someone else would come to Station 14. Someone else would read my briefing. Someone else would learn to follow the rules. And if they were careful, if they were precise, if they never questioned and never investigated and never, ever broke the rules, they might survive. Outside, the tree line was dark. The dead trees stood in their rows, silent, waiting. The first stars were appearing in the sky. I closed the curtains on the south window and checked my watch. 9:47 p.m. Another night was beginning. I sat down at the desk, turned on the radio, and waited for the code phrase.